Hi everybody, it's Corey and Denise from Size Matter, and we're back with another RV review. I just want to remind everybody that all the RV reviews we do are based on all of the research, and we do a ton of research, but it's still our opinions, because different construction methods or floor plans or choices are really an individual thing. We're just telling you what our opinions are based on what's important to Corey and I. So if you're a different kind of traveler than we are, or you have a different number of people in your group than we do, you just have to take what we're showing you and apply it to your needs. So today we are in Rockport, Texas, and we're going to review the Grand Design Reflection. This is a pretty neat and very popular trailer, so I'm excited to review it for you. I'm going to start with just the general construction. We're in a parking lot and there is noise all over the place, so bear with us. I'm going to start with general construction on a Reflection. Up at the top on the roof, you've got a wood trussed curved roof. It is got a layer of fiberglass insulation, and it's also got a layer of foil, reflective foil insulation. On top of all that, it's got marine grade OSB with all the seams filled in, and then it's got a one-piece layer of TPO. And that goes over the whole thing, down the edges. They put the edges on and then cut it so it's all nice and tucked in and sealed. TPO is not our favorite roof, but you know, it seems like it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Some people really think that's the best. You know, what it boils down to with roof construction is, are you taking care of it? You got to be up there maintaining it all the time, and you got to pay attention where you're parking and don't get it scraped, you know, that kind of stuff. So there are advantages and disadvantages to each type. If I could, I would have an EPDM, but you know what? It has a TPO, and that wouldn't stop me from purchasing this. Also important about the roof in the Reflection is there is a vented attic in it. It has an R40 rating, and it's also important to know that the roof on a Reflection and all that insulation carries on and comes right down to the bottom of the cap. So I like that. It's just a continuous way of keeping everything insulated. A fiberglass cap on here, which is really good as well. So I also want to talk about the downsides. This is an unbiased review. We're not here making any money or doing anything with the dealerships or the manufacturers. So I want to point out that some folks will be like, a wood truss roof or fiberglass insulation, because the truth of the matter is, if those things get wet, they can cause a problem, right? The pros about that are these are good, strong, quality roofing systems with R40 insulation, and that's huge, and it makes a difference to not just the heating but the cooling of your rig. So you know, got to pay attention to both of those ways of thinking. The rig, you'll notice that the Reflection has a rain rail, like an eaves trough up there with a spout. And this is an important feature to have on your trailer. You've got that curved roof and it's shedding water. Where's it going to go? Well, you really don't want it running down the sides. So it's nice to know that there's a place for the water to go and then a spout to push it away from your rig to try and help with that keeping water out. So moving on down to the wall construction on the Reflection. They are aluminum framed on 16-inch centers for walls, and they have a 2-inch foam insulation in there. The windows and doors are also framed out. Then they have their Luan on there, and then it goes through the lamination process. I've looked everywhere to give you more information about the lamination process, and I haven't found an answer. They've led me to believe that it's done in a vacuum lamination, and I'm going to confirm that with a rep, and hopefully we'll get more answers. But I do believe it's a vacuum lamination on these walls. So the walls are given an R9 insulation rating. Also important to note that the back wall and any sort of front part walls are also built the same way, and that also includes the slides. So that's kind of an important feature. Not all trailers are built that way. So good to know, R9. The exterior of the reflection is a fiberglass gel coat, and then it has decals on it as well. Onto the flooring in the reflection. Of course, it's sitting on the chassis, and I'll talk more about the chassis in a bit, but the flooring itself is on a aluminum frame. It's insulated with fiberglass and that reflective foil, and the reflective foil is also in the slides to help maintain that insulating factor. Then there's the OSB marine grade plywood, and then the whatever flooring they choose, the carpet or the lino, and I'm happy to say that most of them have more lino than not. And it has an R30 rating. All the Grand designs have the Lippert chassis, suspension, axles, and brakes as well. So let's take a look at that. Hopefully you can get a good look in there at what they've got. And then I do want to point out that all of the research I do, I go on forums, I look for the positives and the negatives. There have been a few comments, so let's step out here and I'll tell you about that. When I'm doing my research, I'm looking on forums and things to hear if anybody has anything to complain about. And you can always find somebody who has some sort of negative experience, and that doesn't matter what manufacturer or product you're using. So I want to point out that if you're looking on those areas, remember that that's a small number of people in a big group. But I do want to point out that sometimes there's issues with axles or suspension or braking systems, and companies are working on those. So you should investigate that yourself. The other thing that I find on forums is people saying, oh, you need to upgrade this and you need to have that. And I'm not saying you don't, and maybe they are helpful to those people, but I think it's important that when you are purchasing your rig, that you get to know it. You need to know what your systems are. Then you need to go tow it around for a while, see how it feels, get used to it, and then you need to go in and have it inspected. Go see a reputable person who can tell you how it's going. Is there any abnormal wear and tear on something? Are the tires in good shape? Learn a few things like that, and then you'll know if you want to upgrade to some of those things that people are suggesting. You can always make something better with an upgrade. The question is, do you need it? And you don't know whether you need it until you have your trailer out on the road behind your truck and you know what it feels like. Tires are an ST rated tire, 16-inch, and I believe these were E rated tires. I don't know a lot about tires, so I always tell everybody go talk to a tire person and get that all figured out. There's pros and cons to different type. The ST tire is a good rated tire for trailers, but they do speed restrict you, and then they give you a bit of a smoother ride. And there's even been some question about longevity of the tire being better with an ST. But like I say, go talk to a tire guy, because I know a lot of people are changing away from ST tires. So make sure you get that sorted out, because that's the last thing you want is a tire blowout. Let's talk about the jack system on the reflection. These are an auto leveling electric jack system. So you do just push a button and it'll level for you, but it is an electric system. On this particular model, it's a 4-point jack system, but depending on the size of the rig, it could be up to 6 jack points. We do need to talk about the slide mechanisms. They differ between manufacturers and they differ between sizes of slides. So let's take a look at the one that the reflection has. Come on, get underneath, have a look. This is a rack and pinion system, and it is on a electric motor. So this is a pretty big slide. It's got 2 of these rack and pinions, and then the electric pulls it in and pushes it out. On the smaller slides of a reflection, they use a different type of slide mechanism, and this one's called a Schwinn. And you can see that it moves through this little system along here on the top and the bottom to pull and push the slide back and forth. It's okay on a smaller slide like this. Schwinn has had, some challenges, and I think those challenges are more geared towards bigger, heavier slides, and there have been some updates in that where they use a 3-rail system. I think the jury's still out on that, but I think on these smaller slides, the Schwinn is a perfectly good system to be. Next, it's the all-important utility bay. So these doors, I should mention that, they have a 1-inch foam insulation in them as well, and they go up to a magnetic attachment. I love that. I really love that. It's not banging on your head. I don't got to clip it into anything. It just really works. So into the utility bay here, Grand Design is very proud of this system that they've got here, and at first I'm like, I don't get it, but when I really thought about it, it starts to make sense. They've got color-coded valves to tell you, and a little menu here to tell you, depending on which way you're using your rig, which way these color-coded valves should be. So whether you're cleaning it, are you dry camping, are you hooked up at a park, whatever, there's a system here and it tells you all about that. As well, then you've got your different valves for draining with. This particular trailer obviously has 2 gray tanks on it and 1 black, and so they've got all that there. The basement area on the reflection is heated, and the heat is circulated through here, so that's all good. And the valves then are kept free of debris and freezing and those kinds of things. So that's a really optimal system, I think. Anybody who's ever had to fight with dirt and grime and debris and cold underneath their trailer trying to get those valves open knows exactly what we mean. So this is a really good system. And then you've got your city water connection. You can fill up from here. There's a pump. There's outdoor shower connection. It's all very nicely set up and compact in here. And then it all runs through this little hole in the bottom. Right here, you can put things through there. Comes out the bottom of your rig and then off to the services. So you can close everything up and it's in good shape. Also, this is the connection for your sewer. And I also, while we're down here, want to tell you about the fully enclosed underbelly that is on this. This is a 1-piece system, and it actually has strapping down the edges all the way around the perimeter in order to keep things sealed, and it's all tightly held up to the bottom. The only downside that I see in that is that in other trailers that I've noticed, they have some pieces. The downside to pieces is they could, get something in between them. But if you have to get under here and access something, you have to take this whole thing off or cut it or something. So, there's pros and cons. I don't know which way is better. I hope I never have to get under. The reflection also has 2 30-pound propane tanks. I know this is just one, but there's an exact same compartment on the other side, so there is actually 2 because the furnace is only operational on propane. So, in case you're going to colder climates or that kind of thing, you want to make sure you got enough propane. That wraps up our construction video on the Grand Design Reflection. So if any of you have any comments to make or things you want to talk about, just leave me a message in the comments section. Otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe, and join us for more.